Good morning. This is Norma Cowie, and I'm here for Norma Talks, which I am every Wednesday morning. I have been reminded recently to ask people to subscribe, like, share, etc., and I certainly appreciate every time that happens. We've been working on with Norma Talks for over 2 years now. Many things have changed in our world in that 2 years. With all our lockdowns, with all our restrictions, with all our vaccine information, etc. And I try and stay away from political things because I am a spiritual teacher or a philosophical teacher, a person that wants to have you see the bigger picture in the sense of your own well-being and your own purpose and your own growth pattern. And sometimes it has been hard to stay out of the fear that is generated through mainstream media, which I no longer really watch at all, except I have been watching the Olympics. But you can't take the sports person out of me. But the mainstream, I tell you, I can't. If my hair wasn't white, it already would be white with what I hear on there and yet what I also watch on different videos. So how does one stay positive when there's a lot of fear going on? First of all, how strong is your faith? How strong is your connection to your, do we want to say God? Do we want to say universal love force, as I tend to? It depends on what you call that higher power. How do we stay connected to that? How do we really know that what we have been practicing for years and years and years is in our bones, so to speak, is in such a large part of who we are? How do we know that? Well, if you give in to fear, if you give in to anger even, I get very angry, especially right now with what's happening in my country. I get quite angry about it because it's like losing all your rights, like you're not even knowing that they can come into your bank account, knowing that you don't have a right to speak out or to protest, which I've always believed and was raised. Yes, raised in a different country, but basic principles, the same thing, that you have a right to say, I don't approve. Didn't we march for the Vietnam? I know I did. We marched for freedom from Vietnam. We marched to stop the war. We marched for other things as well. So how do we stay positive through all this when the pressure to accept and comply? First of all, I found that you need a group of people that believe that there is more, that the higher power that and I'm going to call it God for this because it is easier to work with the name of God. And by the way, if you're ever into numbers, it becomes to a 9, which is completion of all things, if I remember rightly. 6, 7, and a P. Yeah. So how do we utilize this completion within ourselves? Do we keep meditating? Do we keep praying? And for just a little notice that on Monday nights now at 7 live on YouTube, I do have a section of what I'm calling mental mind treatments where you can pray. And I am beginning to work, and lots of good comments are coming in that people are enjoying it. I just need you to come in and write down what you need prayers for, because I'm quite happy to work with that. There's a sense, what do we do to make it feel easier? So let's go back to the ABCs. When I'm praying, I was taught 5 steps. The 5 steps was 1, to recognize that there is a force in the universe. And I have many ways of moving into that. But it's like knowing that there is a force alive that you cannot see, but you can feel. Because, again, another one of my premises that I achieved through years of study of metaphysical world, perhaps not study, but experiencing, maybe that might be a better word, is that there is a force, and that force has your back. That force loves you beyond measure, that you cannot even imagine how loved you are, without judgment, without criticism, without all those things that so often our own minds will give to us. And then, in the next step is the union with that. Now, I do a lot of transformation work, and if I didn't have that union with the loving force that shows me where the issues are, what the problem is, yes, I develop my psychic abilities, but when it is blended with the love force, when it is blended with God, you see more, and you bring in the love, and it clears the pathway, it clears everything that is there. There is just love and light. So that's the second step. The third step is to clear what you want. You want to feel free. You want to be who you are. You want to be released all of the fear that is in you, which often contributes to the issues that go on. You want to, and then gratitude. Oh man, you say gratitude. The gratitude, which is so important. You can often say a whole prayer from gratitude, being grateful for what is there for you to enjoy. I live in a very beautiful part of the world. I just drive down by the lake and I look out at the lake and the hills. Right now, there's still some bits of snow on them. The ice is all gone from the lake. I've got deer walking around. I saw two young stags practicing, head bumping. Spring's coming. They're getting ready. You give gratitude for things that are there that are real and not fearful, but are there. And what that does is it raises your essence of your world. And you stay open. You accept. Oh, I have to give you the last step. And the last step is releasing it. To release a thought that you've created. Prayer is thought. You're actually praying every day, all the time that you're thinking. You're actually praying because the big universe out there, and for those of you that are into computers and love computers, think of it as a large computer listening and hearing your input. And then it does its best to rearrange the world to bring back to you what you want. So when you're full of fear, when you're full of not sure of how things are going to be and how they're going to work and what are they going to do, guess what? You will hear more. You will see more. Doesn't mean that you don't deal with reality, because being real, like right now, when there's talk about us here in Canada losing all our personal rights, how does that make us feel? Not very good. We remember in history, if you know history, that that's happened before in certain countries and certain times, in certain places, where one group will treat another group not very well. And that has gone on in our histories for sure. But all of a sudden, it's touching so many other things. And yet we have to remain clear in the light. The more we give into fear, the more we give into we have no power, the more what we perhaps don't want to have happen has more power. So the key is the more of us that join together in light, in understanding, and in awareness, and in beingness, the more we do that, the easier it can be. I have found in my life, my desire to be at one with God has driven me into places I did not expect to go. Take workshops, which I never would have thought I would have taken. But every little bit that I came to understand, and that is a key word, to understand, that I could stand on. And in standing on it, I could grow and incorporate. It's never about separation. It's only about wholeness, of bringing everything together. We all have parts of us that perhaps are dark, and we have those, what we would call perhaps not nice thoughts or the best thoughts, but we show light on them. We take, it's like having a flashlight and showing light to open up the dark. Light will always take away dark. So you need always to ask yourself in your positivity, am I being positive for me? Am I doing what I need to do for myself, for the betterment of myself, for the fullness of my life, for what gives me joy, what gives me pleasure? Or am I just doing everything by rote because someone said that's a good thing to do? It is the knowingness that light will always take away dark. And we forget that very often when it seems like all around us is fear, and that this is going to happen and that is going to happen and this is going to be and that's going to be. And the thought that runs into my mind right away is the fear of death. Now, I grew up in a family that was older, who were the younger people of an older family. I grew up with a lot of old people. My mom was 39 when she had me and 42 when she had my brother. My sisters were 16 and 19, basically years older than me. And my eldest sister's first baby is 18 months younger than me. And so she had 2 children before my brother was born. I grew up with people dying. I grew up with knowing that we have a limited time. I had some nephews who died early. I have had nephews who have died since then, and a niece. Death is a part of life. But you see, when we think that this is all there is, when we think that being alive in this body and this time is all there is, we become fearful of even that. And the fear of, oh, you've got to keep people safe. Are they going to die? There is a thought form out there that I must admit I dislike immensely, which is, you've got to do this, so you've got to keep your grandmother safe. Excuse me? Grandmother has an immune system that's kept her safe for years. And who knows, it may be her time. We don't know. But keeping people away so you can't be with them when they are dying, that's criminal as far as I honestly concerned. I think that's a political comment, but I really think that's criminal. We are humans. We need touch. We need hugs. We need acceptance of who we are. Because we all know that at one day we will leave our bodies. We don't know when that is. Oh, yeah, we can look at the lines in our hands and see. I have a line in my hand that could say I could live forever. Well, it's not really forever, but quite long. And yet there's a couple of lines saying, not so long. So who knows? I have a friend who has a lifeline that's like, he should have already been long gone, but he's still here. The spirit that we have inside of ourselves, the spirit that longs for life, that longs to be happy and to be free. We are designed for that. We come from a long line of ancestors. Well, no matter what nationality you are and where you're from, you know that those ancestors had to fight when they had nothing. They lived in huts or maybe used spears or whatever to live, and they survived. And we are a result of those survivors. Don't forget that. We are a result of people who survived through ice ages and firestorms and earthquakes and tsunamis, because we are survivors. And how did we survive a lot of that? Is because we had grit inside, yes, but we had a belief, no matter what it was. You can look back, there's many TV shows that show you how some people worshipped. How they worshipped in many ways and in many places, how they gave over, bring their offerings. I know when I was young, we used to have a harvest festival at the little church I went to. And then everyone would bring vegetables or fruit or whatever, and we would celebrate harvest. How is it, as a group of people now, how many of us do that? We're not even allowed to go to churches. I think they may allow 10 people now or something where I live. But the church, it falls apart. The community falls apart, the support. So how do you stay positive? First of all, you remember you're a part of a bigger energy that loves you, that cares about you. And we breathe for that. And secondly, we find people that support us as people in our growth. We may not always agree ideologically, but they support us. It's very easy when things get tough to tighten up and become small inside. But you remember, but God's not small. It's a large energy, because I call it universal love force. I tend to run into that. It's a big, big, big energy that is there for you. We all make choices every day in every way. We make a choice of who we are, what we're doing. And I want you to be positive through this shift in time, which our countries are going through. It's funny how during a day, I have to say this as I'm wrapping this up. I have watched a lot of information coming out of Israel, and they're onto their 4th booster, and now they're stopping it all. I just saw that just before I came on here. And it's like prayers get answered in strange ways. As long as one part of the world is tightening up and getting less free as we are here, another one is saying, hey, this isn't working. Let's open up. Europe's opening up. Many places are opening up. Because people kept alive in their positivity of freedom, and that what is right for the people will be done. Being positive is really important because it's easy to give into the black cloud that is perpetrated around us. You are lights. Whoever's listening to this, know that. You are a light. And as a light, you can blossom and bloom in your environment. You can bring others. You can be a representation of the joy and the love that you really, really are. And so on that note, I just want to say, as you are positive, have a great week. No matter what's happening outside, stay calm and knowing you are loved on the inside. And remember, I will be back on Sunday for a Sunday thought and then Monday night for mental mind treatments. Blessings to all of you.